is in continuation to our low-code, no-code platform. Before I get to the use case, I just want to give some background about app and also how all objects are really organized within an app. So currently, if you look at an application, we define an app which is AUD or GRC or compliance CFP, right? So all these different apps, we define personas like which role and activities they can access the application, and subsequently all the objects within that particular application, whether it's the forms, reports, landing pages, all those things are grouped together within that particular app. So that's how we bundle that whole app as an installer and promote that to the next environment. Now, if you want to do changes on the out-of-the-box app, now AUD is out of the box, GRC is out of the box, we cannot directly do that particular app level changes. Now, there is a scenario called extension. So that is introduced in M7 and it is continued as well in the local platform. So out of the box product is GRC, then we want to do certain changes like take the case of adding fields in the form. So we won't be doing directly on the base product, base package, rather we extend that to extended package, in this case GRC to GRX or AUD to AXU. Then we apply all our changes to that so that it is maintained in the separate layer altogether. So that your out-of-the-box changes are separate and your extension changes are separate, so that is kind of maintained in the different layer. We can do version control, maintain that in the Git repository, all that separately, so that we can build installer as well. Now, the common use case is on any out-of-the-box functionality which is well thought through, and also those use cases are built after discussion with the customers. And yeah, please go ahead.
You talk about the new fields. What about if we want to suppress field?
Yeah.
Is it the same concept?
Yeah, it's the same concept. Yeah, that's right. So here I've just taken the scenario as new fields. In any changes on the existing form, whether you want to realign the fields or hide the fields in the out of the box, we won't be directly doing that in the out of the box forms. Rather, we extend it so that you are maintaining all those changes in the separate layer altogether. So that that is separated out and you maintain the version control of it, so that during upgrades it understands there's a separate change available and you can really retain those changes. Now the scenario is we wanted to add fields on the out of the box. We'll extend that to the GRC to GRX or any that wanted to extended module. Now the fields you can add to the extended form, and on the extended form you can write roles, business roles. Again, the rules, what is available from the out of the box, you can either turn it off or you can change the rule, the conditions, whatever you wanted to apply, or you can add the conditions on the new fields. It can be any such combination, any changes you are doing, that is part of your extended package, including the business rules. So you're writing simple expressions as we have seen earlier. So those validations are done using the business rules. And obviously, you have taken the form in the extension mode. You wanted to do upload as well. You have added the new field or changes in the business validations. You wanted to do an upload as well for that. The updated templates, you are going to get that with the new fields or the new validations as well, along with the APIs. APIs also, you are going to get the new additional fields with the validations. So that's the flexibility what we get with the low code, no code. We write once and execute in many places or all the 3 different places. And obviously, since you're adding the fields in the form, it's not going to stay in the form itself. You wanted to get that to the reporting as well, reporting, either self-service reporting or the other existing reports, operational reports built from the product. So those cases you can do an extension of the reports from out-of-the-box reports to the extension reports, similar to the way we have done in the forms. And again, those extended reports, you can add that to the info center, which is basically a landing page, and by using the info center configuration utility, so that you are not changing anything on the out-of-the-box info center. Rather, you go use the utility available, which is upgrade safe. So this is a common use case where we can apply the changes on the existing form by adding the fields or changing the fields, and you can take it through until the reporting and the info center. So any questions? And this is again a common requirement where when I was talking to one of other customers in the morning, they wanted to change the labels in the PDMS document management system. So being a document management system, it contains multiple forms, reports, and everything. We want to change the label instead of policies, regulations, something else. So we can just make use of this utility where you are going to provide the search option, like what labels you want to search under which module and what type of objects you wanted to modify. It will list out all the objects where that particular search string is formed in the system. All those occurrences are listed out. Then you can change that particular search string to replace string. You can replace that with whatever string you want. So that you can change the labels throughout an application using this utility, which is again upgrade safe. Yeah, and again, similar to the label changes, if you want to do mass updation of emails, like emails you wanted to change the headers or footers, or changing the templates, the logo of your emails, all that we can do that using this utility. Even if you want to change turn off the emails for a respective workflow, rather than going through each and every workflow and turning off the emails, you can just use this utility to mass update the emails in the old system. Yeah, I think these are the three use cases which I have put together. Any questions, or if you have any use cases, we can discuss as well. Yeah.
Good question. So, does this require like additional training, or can we find documentation how to do this, like on the developer portal?
Yeah, so we have configuration utilities user guide with the detailed steps for each and every utility. We can go through that one by one, and it's self-sufficient. We can try it out. And we call it as a configuration. We can directly apply it in the UAT and production.
Someone was asking me this, but how about workflow changes?
Yeah.
Okay.
So workflow changes, we consider that as an extension because currently we don't have upgrade safe layer to that. That's the reason we take it in the extension mode. Extension is again upgrade safe because it's a separate object what we are going to create and do the changes. So yeah, it is. That's how we are going to take it. So workflows, it won't complete until the workflow configurations. We have workflow designer where we do the changes by adding the stages or turning off the stages. Along with that, we also do the changes in the workflow packages, which is the database packages, or the other one can be memory packages now, memory domain specific language. Instead of doing the changes directly, we can go with chaining options. We have something called workflow chaining, so that we can extend your extended package as part of your chaining as well. And these are all different options available to make things in the upgrade safe manner. Yeah, any further questions?
Just one. Are there any kind of changes, like any examples that you can give, which are not covered by extensions but fall under customization?
Yeah, I think that's a good point. So currently, if you look at CIS, where we provide the low-code capabilities to connect to the external connectors, right? So we want to get the curated information. There are two parts to it. One is the first part is we are going to get the data from the external system to MongoDB data store. So we get the data from the external payload. Now the second part, as a platform, we won't be really knowing how to consume the data. It's at the product level consumption. As per the business logic or the data model what they have, they need to really consume that data accordingly. The second part, we need to write a piece of Java code to consume the data and put that to the business requirement. So that I think we call it as a customization because we are writing the code. It's not too much of code, it's a kind of low code itself. It's a customization there. Yeah.
I have a general question, not a current customer, just trying to evaluate the tool. How does MetricStream handles changes that are done in UAT into production?
Yeah, so before I go to that particular point, we need to understand the upgrade safe framework with the different terminologies. We have the terms like personalization, configuration, extension, and customization. Personalization, we are giving the control to the end user where he can really customize the reports, not customize in the sense he can personalize the reports the way he wants. For example, the out of the box
By end
report,
user, you mean the customer or actual?
actual end user of the system.
Okay.
Now, as part of his landing page, he has opened a report which contains 10 fields. But out of 10 fields, he want to reorganize the fields. He wanted to see frequently accessible fields in the front. The other things can go to the later stage. So, or he wants to hide the fields or apply the filters for that particular report. So, all those different things he can apply and save that as a preference. So that next time if he comes back, he can execute that preference, get the limited set of information what he's looking for. So that's the personalization which is available, which is upgrade safe. The end user can do that directly in the production, in the end user environment itself.
Okay.
That's the first personalization feature. The second one is the configuration. So as part of the products, we have features like you want to turn on auto approvals in the forms. Being a workflow-based system, it has to go through level 1 approval, level 2, level 3 for the overall workflow to complete. So in those cases, if you want to turn off certain functionality which is already given by the product, I don't want 3-stage workflow, I want to make it as 1-stage workflow. Or auto approval is required for the workflow. So any such configuration is available at the product level. You can turn on, turn off, which is again upgrade safe. That's the configuration. Similar to that, there are quite a few options in the configuration. And the other one can be configuration utilities itself, the one what we have seen. It can be label changes, email changes, all those mass updations are update safe. You can do that directly in the UAT and parallel you can execute that in the production once you are comfortable, once you're happy with the results in the UAT. Now the third one, which is an extension, we are talking about adding a field or doing the business validations or any such changes or extensions. You are changing the object of your form or basically a particular app. So it has to go through some governance in place. You have to validate that in your staging environment, QA has to certify, then it has to go to the production. So from extension onwards, it has to go through the normal SDLC, but otherwise personalization and configuration can directly apply in the UAT in production.
And SDLC, you mean SDLC of MetricStream or my own?
Yeah, so again, we have co-development model. If you're having your own team working on it with the proper training, then we can use that particular instance. The MetricStream can also get onto it, do the changes if there is a parallel development going on. Or if you're having your own environment, we can set up the Git repo and all the changes so that you can check in and take the installer back to the higher environments.
Did that answer your question?
Kind of.
I mean, if I go back to what you originally asked.
It's how
something
changes
fails
go.
in UAT,
Yeah.
If something fails in UAT, it's going back to development environment. It doesn't move on to production. You gotta take it back, fix it, and then bring it back up. And that could be a lot of effort. I think that's what you were asking.
No, I think there are
maybe
two
not.
parts to it. So if you're focusing more upon, let's say if you're going to stay out of the box to the product, and your changes are very much limited to the points that Kiran highlighted in terms of, you know what, I want few of the fields to be mandatory, non-mandatory, or maybe I want to hide one or two. My changes are not workflow focused. Like, you know, if I talk about Lisa, that's a different world itself altogether. I mean, that's how I would put it. Like, you know, the amount of changes that we have done probably there, you know, is significant in order to kind of make it work for the methodology that they follow and everything. But if you're staying closer to out of the box, the changes are going to be more, you know, from the front end, you know, is you don't have to follow through SDLC, you know, process itself altogether. So you can probably do those specific changes in the sandbox or the instance and then replicate the same thing in production at the end of the day. So
And that's the key that I'm looking for. Right now, the tool I have, if I do something in UAT, I have to rebuild it in the production environment.
When you say, can you give me an
Same
example?
here. There's no way to promote changes from UAT.
Can you give me
to
an
production.
example of a change? What change you're talking about?
So let's say changes to how form would look like for a particular vendor.
Mhm.
That would be, let's say, I need an analyst to add comments for a particular assessment. And that changes, I tested in UAT, but then I have to rebuild it in production environment. There's no promotion of the change into
Correct.
production.
Correct. Yeah. No. That is. You're right. There is no kind of. Is it the only way to go through is like what Lisa mentioned, which is the regular installer building activity that you have to go through. It is not complicated. I would say, but it definitely needs a skill set. You need to be trained upon in order to kind of do a specific part.
Okay.
So, but my point that I was trying to mention is depending upon what kind of a changes you make. If your changes are very much limited and they're more on the front end part of it, I don't think you have to go through the entire cycle of the SDLC itself. That's the point that I want to highlight, because it is important, for you to consider on the components part of it, but where there are significant changes to the form and you are touching the base components itself altogether, it completely makes sense to go through that SDLC cycle in terms of picking up the object, building an installer, and deploying it. That way, you're not spending significant amount of time redoing all of that in the production point of view. But for certain products, if you're using third-party management, for example, is that do you use CPM?
I'm not a customer yet.
Okay. So if there is, let us say for third-party management, for example, there is a concept, the due diligence workflow concept, what we have, that is more front-end driven configuration. So we have ability to kind of export that and import that in production. So it does exist in pockets, but it's not a platform feature that is applicable for all the products, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you.
Also, in addition to that, there is a feature called you can take a installer directly from the application itself. So whatever objects you have modified, there is a process called IUP, import update patch. So we export the objects, your installer is ready, you can take it to the next environment and import it so that your changes are available.
Okay. Thank you.
This email, it says filter by respective application workflow or non-workflow email. Does this mean I can myself tell the system not to email every single person when an owner is not added?
Yeah, so these changes are basically for the overall system level, not specific to the user. If you want to opt in, opt out, the user level, we have functionality where we can turn on, turn off. But this is
For everybody, but
This is
not,
for everybody. Yeah.
but not user specific.
It's not user specific. Yeah.
So I can't say Joe wants email, but Sally doesn't.
Yeah, that is not at this level. Yeah, there are different options for opt-in, opt-out at the user level.
And if they forget to add an owner to the library and it decides to email everybody, is there a filter that I can stop and email the 350 users?
Yeah, so
Like email all? Is that an option?
currently I think we don't.
No?
It's at the system level, Linda. Again, it's not form or on object level, it's system
Can
level.
you add that as a, possibility in
Do
the
they all have the
future?
same role? Like, is there a role-based option for that?
Well,
Or-
it's based on your
I
organization.
guess everybody in York, you have 350.
Yeah, we have
Okay,
350.
cool.
All right, everyone. I appreciate the lively discussion, but we're actually being beckoned to the main ballroom for the closing comments.
Ah.
So I appreciate you being here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.